Alright kids, so today we're going to teach how to shoot an interview 101. So first you got to find a nice room. And the room you're probably going to get is probably going to be a conference room. And it's going to have a bunch of tables in the middle. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is get rid of this accent. And then move all the tables to one side of the room. You want to get as huge clear open of a space as you can. Because you want that depth. Okay? We're not using this space for the equipment. We're literally just using it for the background. So I picked the nicest chair, and I'm gonna set that there. And then I'll get the second nicest chair for me, because the guest, you know, comes first. And you're gonna sit the chairs opposite ways, like this. So the chairs are set up facing each other at like a slight angle. I'll adjust these, but she's looking this way. Means I'm looking this way. Okay, now we're gonna start setting up all the gear. First, get the tripod and get the camera on the tripod. We're gonna start setting up like a draft shot without the lights or anything, just to get an idea of the shot composition. We'll go from there. FYI, now is not the time to check if you have a memory card, battery, if they're charged, if they're cleared, if your lens cap is on. Now is the time to actually check if your lens cap is on. You can still take that off. But everything else you should have checked the night before. And then double checked it again the day of. Good practice. Now, in this room, since I have such a huge open empty backspace, I actually went and collected like 30 of my and my girlfriend's books. And I'm gonna kind of dress the set in the back after we get the shot set up. Okay, so I got the camera set up and it's pointing for my like first look at the shot. Now it would be nice if you had an assistant here to help you out look, but if not, you can sit in the chair yourself and hopefully your viewfinder can flip around, or if you can't do that, just record yourself for a few seconds sitting like you would if you were the interviewee, and then go back and see what the clip looks like. It just takes an extra 30 seconds if your viewfinder doesn't flip around, so it's not that big of a hassle. So as we can see, the camera's pointing at me. I'm gonna try to zoom in as best I can. So that's my shot. Looks a little awkward because I'm sitting here, but it looks pretty good. Now this is the time where height matters. If she's the same height as me, then this will work out. But if she's not, if she's shorter or taller, I might have to adjust it, and it could actually throw off the shot a little bit. So it's good to have that information beforehand if you can. And just first thing, LOL, the reason I'm actually doing this tutorial is because my interviewee said she'll be 15 minutes late. So it's always good to get here early and just have extra time to troubleshoot, especially if you haven't seen the space before, or even if you have, just to do something else or be even more creative than you thought you could be originally. Okay, so now I'm looking in the back here and it is pretty bare. So I do want to add some books in the back there, but I don't want to make it look dressed, so there's a fine balance. Now the books themselves, the like titles and stuff will be blurred out. These are all just like my school books and my little diary with my girlfriend. But they will be blurry enough that you shouldn't be able to tell what they are. So right now I'm looking for colors that'll contrast nicely against the brown, and then kind of some different sizes of books so they don't all look uniform. And I'm just going to pick some of those and put them on the wall. Also important to note that at this point I have not set my white balance or my ISO or anything like that, because the lighting will change that, and the lighting in the room might be a different white balance than the lighting that you're using. And it's the same with the brightness. That's going to change obviously when you add the lights. I'm also leaving the air conditioning on right now to keep it as cool as I possibly can until like the very last possible minute where I have to shut off right when we start recording, because it gets hot fast. But that will come through on the microphone that's going to be like right above this chair right here, if that's on. So make sure to shut that off, but it's like right before the interview. Try to shut it off, not a few minutes before even. So the process I go through to do this is I actually just put up books in random spots. I just start putting books in random spots, and then I keep looking at the viewfinder and I start slowly adjusting them and give them some kind of an order, and then it starts to look good. But at first it's just literally I just go up there and throw them somewhere. Well, don't throw them, set them down nicely. Unless it's your only place, then do what you want. Do whatever you want. Okay, so I believe I'm gonna actually use all the books, and it's kind of looking bare, it's so big. So now's the adjustment phase where I might actually start moving this chair around, moving the camera. I might actually get a little closer to the wall if it helps out my shot. We'll see. Sometimes you don't always want to have as much space as you can in the background. Kind of just depends on the certain situation. I might actually be able to get better depth of field if I'm a little closer to that back wall, if I'm more zoomed in on my lens. Okay, so ideally I'd have about 50 more books, but I tried as best as I possibly could to start to make it look decently natural in the background. Editor's note. What does decently natural in the background actually mean? Well, basically, natural is avoiding symmetry. If you have too much symmetry, it looks like you staged it. So you try to have odd numbers, and keep it asymmetrical. And now, I'm going to have to probably adjust all those books once she sits down, because I don't know how tall she is. So now, we're going to move over to the actual audio and lighting equipment. I'm going to set that up. So first I'm going to set up the lights, but the order of this doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to set up a basic 3-point lighting system here. So the bare minimum you need is just one light outside source. So the bare minimum you need is one outside light source besides what you have in your room. You could actually get away with cheating and using the light source in your room as kind of like that third light source, or two. You can actually do a 2-point lighting. But in this case, I'm going to set up both my lights kind of on each side to start, and I'm just going to turn them on and then start adjusting it while I'm sitting down, so I have to get up, run back and forth. This is a great tutorial on how to do it with a one-person show. Now, it's best to place the lights above the subject, kind of pointing down at them to get rid of awkward shadows. And also move all of your bags to the very back behind the camera so none of those end up getting in the shot. It's very important. Small details, sometimes overlooked. Most people interviewed are not going to be wanting to be blinded by the lights because they are very bright, so you could put a diffuser on them because they're not very hot. So that could basically be anything. This is like some piece of clothing we washed that just like destroyed itself and now works as a perfect diffuser. But if I didn't have this, I was just going to use a trash bag. So, yeah. I should have brought tape. Darn. Haha! I have tape on the back of this from a different time that I could use with a little bit of stick. Boom. And there you go. The light looks like a bride. So you get pretty much any stand. I actually could have used these light stands, put this on top of it too, but put one of these on top, and that lets you put your boomstick right in there, and then it balances, and you put the mic pointing right down to where their face is pointing. So boom, there it is. Just make sure you have a long enough XLR cable to put in the back of the camera and reach the back of the boom pole. Plug the mic in up top and point it where you think their face is going to be pointing. My interviewee is here, so I'm going to turn that AC back on. I'm sweating and she's at the door. So I'm going to hopefully cool it down before we get started. Here we go. The fruits of my labor. How majestic. And that is it. The AC comes back on. I just sat down and we did an interview. I got 65 minutes recorded. I used an entire 128 gigabyte memory card because I was recording at 4K 23.98 frames per second. But yeah, it was the first time I had like had a conversation with this person, so I kind of wanted to get to know them a little bit. So a lot of the stuff was just us talking about the interview process, kind of giving like a behind the scenes look. So that was fun. But yeah, awesome interview, went great. I'm gonna show. Here's what the shot looked like. We're just gonna go with it and see how it goes and have fun. I'm just as nervous as you are. I'm just kidding. No reason to be nervous, and this should be okay. And yeah, this is like how to set up an interview 101, where you're like, it's like almost a professional interview. You know, you're getting there. You know, you're really trying. You're really trying. If I had more books in the background, thumbnail. Maybe if I had more books in the background, you could say it's a true pro interview. But I think it went well. And yeah, this is how to set up an interview 101. See you next time. Final editor's note, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I basically just wanted to put this little tag on explaining kind of where I was coming from when I made this video. Basically, this video wasn't created to be an instructional to show you how to record an interview.
it was created while I was actually like doing that in the field, to try to give you like an inside look of how my brain's actually thinking in real time while I'm setting up. So I think it's like a little bit of a different tutorial in that aspect, is that it's actually just like my stream of consciousness as I'm thinking of it on the fly, on the job. Peace.